Good evening, Northern New Mexico. Thanks for joining us for the public meeting for the Calf Canyon Hermit Peak Fires for June 8th. It's been a very busy and really positive and productive couple of days since we last talked. First, and one of the most foremost things is that firing operation out in the wilderness has gone extremely well. In fact, they've reached a lot of their objectives. You see a little bit of red coming up on the map. They're tying in and to a point to where they're reducing resources out there in that wilderness area. And John, our ops chief, is going to expand on that quite a bit. Another good point is that we could be looking at some real changes in the evacuation status coming up over the next couple of days. And Sheriff Lopez will be talking on that. But keep an eye on that real-time interactive evacuation map to get the latest update as things change. So the biggest thing also I want to show with you tonight is the weather. And we're going to go to a little bit of a video that we have. You know, you guys have had a ridiculous number of red flag days, you know, something like 24 in a month. And now we're actually looking at clouds and some rain, which is that manna from heaven? Or is it those flash floods and the debris flows that we're all fearing and knowing that could be coming? So we're getting a little bit of rain up on the fire today. And here's a video of folks that did fill out that suppression repair request form. And on their private property, they decided they wanted to keep the dozer line intact as protection for them. So our guys are going out and creating water bars to prevent any erosion from happening. Here's a crew chipping some of those materials that were all cut out of a fire line to stop the spread of the fire. Now they take that, a lot of the time that's chipped and thrown right back into the black, into the burn part of the fire, which helps prevent further erosion, as well as works as mulch and takes those materials and turns them right back into a positive and helps to regenerate things. All right, so with all that being said, we're going to go right away up to the north zone to our Pacific Northwest Team Number 2 Incident Commander, Jason Loomis.
All right, real good. Thank you, Bill. And as always, great introduction. So really appreciate that. Also appreciate the work that Southwest Team 1 or Team 2 has been doing down in the South Zone. Just excellent work, excellent coordination with you all and with Pacific Northwest Team 2. So that said, this is our last shift, technically at 1800, 6 o'clock this evening. Pacific Northwest Team 2 transferred to command with Carl Schwope, Southwest Team 1. So we're welcoming Southwest Team 1 back for the third time. But I do want to say that, when we came in about 11 days ago, we were really set up for success. It was a solid game plan that we took from Carl and his team, and we implemented it, and we just carried it forward. And our hope and our intent all along has been to continue that plan and hand it back to whatever team came in behind us. And ironically, it's Southwest Team 1 again. So it's really made for a smooth transition, and it's just been a great opportunity to serve you all. That said, just the public that we're speaking to tonight, it's just been amazing how much support our team has had over the course of the last 10 or 12 days since we've been up here in Taos. All the communities surrounding the North Zone that we've been responsible for have just been unbelievable and supporting and expressing their gratitude and appreciation for us. So we, in return, appreciate all that. So we just thank you all. Got a ways to go yet here. We'll see what the weather brings, but we just wish you all a very safe summer and look to cross paths again at some point in time. We're just so honored and humbled to be here. And with that, I'll reintroduce IC for Southwest Team 1, Carl Schwope again.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Carl Schwope, IC with Team 1, and thanks to Jason and the rest of PNW Team 2. It's amazing to see how much work can get accomplished in such a short period of time. And we do know moving forward that yep, there is some rain in the forecast, and so maybe the weather is looking a little bit better in our favor as we move maybe into some monsoon seasons here in the next few weeks. But between now and then, we do know there's still going to be hot, dry, windy conditions that come and go. And so we're going to stay aggressive. We're going to stay aggressive on contingency lines. We're going to stay aggressive on patrol and fire lines and making sure the fire perimeter stays where it's at, and then also with suppression repair. And so with that, the Taos County Sheriff's Office did want me to mention or remind folks that the Carson National Forest is still in closure. With that, there are fire restrictions in place. And if you do see any campfires, please report that to County Dispatch. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both. And I'm so grateful and honored to be able to work with our brothers and sisters that come down and help us out down here in the Southwest, coming all the way from the Pacific Northwest to lend a hand. And of course, we're always glad to see our sister team, the other Type 1 team out of the Southwest, Team 1 and Carl's crew. Okay, let's go right to the North Zone's Operations Section Chief, John Zulk. Pardon me, John, if I stumbled on that. Zulk, if I got it right. Thank you.
Bill, you got it correct. My name is John Zulk. I'm planning operations for PNW 2, and I'm here to give you an overview of the map and tell you what's been going on today, and hopefully hand this off in good shape to our Southwest Team 1. We'll start in Division Lima and Mike, and the work we've been doing in there is to secure the fire edge directly on the edge. Last night we were able to add a little bit of containment in Lima, so we've upped our containment a little bit. We'll look at Division Mike, this north flank of this thumb that sticks up there. It's a very spotty burn, and folks have continued, despite many passes through there over the time period we've been here, to they found some heat in there again last night. So we're reluctant to add containment to the map, that black line that indicates containment. We're going to hold off on that until we can have a couple more crews go through there and see how what they find. Turning the corner, we've down to the south in Division Mike. We've had crews in there. They've been spending the night at the trailhead at Serpent Lake and traveling back and forth to the fire's perimeter, and have been checking that edge and finding very little on that edge, but continuing to stay busy as they work that perimeter. We'll go over to Division Oscar, and this is a contingency line that runs from the spot just to the east of Ripley Point, down over to the west, and then down to the monastery. Our contingency line improvement work is just to the west of Ripley Point near drop point 342. And they continue to improve that line, widen it, and make it a safe place for firefighters to work from in the future. Then we'll move over to another contingency line that has worked down into the Rio de las Trampas River. And we've got the dozer line work down to the river, and we are continuing to improve roads through the land grant towards the old Borrego fire. And that operation is going very well. And that will be a contingency line that ties in with the South Zone operation and their line coming up from that direction. So we feel really good about this area so far. We'll talk about Division Victor, this contingency line that is a little bit south of Highway 64, north of the fire scars that you see here. The intent of all these contingency lines is, in case the fire was to wake up, this would be a safe place for firefighters to work from. And also, these lines will be usable in the future for some time and provide some protection for those communities and values at risk to the north and to the west of our fire. So we've got cutting and improvement that's about to this location on the map. That's 414. And over in Oscar, that's this contingency line that's to the west of Eagle's Nest and goes over Osha Pass. We have work currently between this point in Osha Pass and this point, the 401. They're working towards each other from the north and from the south. and operations have been going very well. In both of these areas, they've had to do some road repair and road maintenance. They replaced the culvert yesterday with the idea that had some seeps that we needed to prevent the road from further damage. So we had to slow our operation down while we attended to that yesterday. Continue to do a little touch up on that, but we'll be at full production following today. So now we'll look over on the east side. We've got all of Kilo, Yankee, Victor, Tango, in the patrol and repair stages at this point. We've backhauled a lot of equipment that was excess to our needs. Water handling equipment, hoses, pumps, etc., has come off by the truckloads over the last several days. We're almost done with that work. It's estimated that by tomorrow, we'll have it completely cleaned out, and those resources that have been doing those operations there will begin to assist the repair group that is stood up. There's some discussion about turning that into a repair branch with 2 repair groups so we can work north and south of the construction that's on the 434 road. They're working today in the Guadalupita area, around the hatchery, around Christmas Tree Canyon and Silva Canyon, with some dozers, some excavators, and the work's going well. We'll continue to staff up the repair group and add capacity there so that we can increase our pace and scale of operations. With that, I will wish Southwest One much luck. It's been an honor to serve here in North Central New Mexico, and thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate that. And immeasurable amount of work that's getting done up there, putting in protective measures around communities out in the path of this fire. And a lot of work, a lot of country going on. Well, tonight is John Chester's last time with us doing a public meeting. He's been serving you folks for 3 weeks now, every day. Been just an incredibly good source of information. And we really appreciate all the work that you've been doing, John. Just so you know, those operational videos that you've been doing in the morning, over the last 8 days, just in the time that our team's been here, it's had over 42,000 views of people watching that. And people really appreciate the info you've been giving us here. So safe travels back home. And thanks again for all your work with us.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. It's been a real pleasure and honor working with this team. I think when I showed up, I knew one individual when I came down here and covered a few years ago and worked with them, and that was another fellow named John. Seems to be a popular name down here. But they welcomed me in, and it was really a great pleasure to work with you folks. So I appreciate the opportunity to get to know you guys and work with you. Moving right along into our operational update, I'd like to start up here in the eastern side, northeastern side of the south zone here. A lot of good work has been taking place. We've talked about, I think the last time we talked was last Friday. And so we've continued with that repair work on the dozer lines, mending fences where that's been taking place, hand lines, and then doing a lot of chipping work. So the folks have been very diligent about getting into this area and doing as much work as they can prior to the wetting season getting here and then creating additional issues down the road. So a lot of good work has gone on and will continue to go on after I am gone. So Still a lot of good work happening. The one thing I do want to make notice of is up the Galenas Canyon tomorrow. I believe there's likely to be a temporary road closure with the state police taking a large piece of equipment up there so we can remove a bridge that was damaged during the fire, that keep it out of the waterway. So tomorrow, probably mid-morning, you can expect that if you're coming down that way. Be heads up for the temporary road closure. Coming on down around, again, a lot of good work occurring on the southern end of the fire here with the repair work and chipping. You saw the video of the dozer kind of pushing the berm out, and then the guys falling up along behind that, chipping that big windrow, what we call a windrow of material along the fire line edge to the green side. So really important to kind of break that down, because it does two things. One, it spreads that woody material out over an area, but it also reduces that fuel loading for future potential incidents. So it doesn't have that a large mass of fuels just piled up ready to catch on fire. So very important work and beneficial to the environment as well as we spread it back out. Coming back around, what we call Division Alpha or Charlie Delta Echo, that work continues in there with chipping and then just making sure those lines are remaining secure. We got a little bit of wind testing today with some east winds blowing across there, and just really making sure that they leave a really good product and that the folks can feel comfortable getting back into the areas that have already been opened up. Coming on up into Elk Mountain, where the firing operation has occurred over the last few days up in here. That firing operation yesterday evening was able to get to a place where there was a fuel type change and felt very comfortable about hanging that fire up in that area and just kind of being able to watch and monitor. And I know we've talked about it last Friday and then on the Wednesday before that with our meetings of being very patient with the fire on the landscape out there and doing the best we can to protect those watersheds, protect the communities down there of Cowles and Geronimo and Toraro. So we've got it to a place now where we can set back and we can kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't move. And if it does, we still have resources that can go in there and take action on that. So really, really good job with those folks getting it to where we can hang on to it and leave it in a good spot where we can just kind of monitor that. Coming on down around, structure protection, those folks have been just in there diligently every day, making sure the systems that they put in place are operational. They will work when they needed to work. They have the water and the folded tanks and the pumpkins set up so that there is no delay in the event that something would happen. Coming on up into Division I, this 250 area right here is kind of the little piece we've talked about on multiple occasions of kind of getting that check line put over there. A little bit of fire activity down in here today. Did get helicopters up and put some bucket work on it to kind of keep that in check, just with the kind of erratic winds that we had with the storms. And then we got a little bit of precip out there. One thing of note is that there was some lightning back up in this area today too. So over the next few days, one of the things that we'll be doing is really monitoring that to see if any new ignitions come out of that. And so this area up here has been extremely cold in the 2 weeks that I've been here, and it hasn't moved. So any new starts up in there will be something that we'll closely watch, and hopefully we have some aerial resources that we'll be able to insert if we need to, if something was to get started up there, and keep it small before it started to develop. So certainly keeping an eye on things up in there. This piece here, though, going back to that, got that in, it's secured, and we have an opportunity to have a holding point to keep anything from kind of squirting around and coming to the north again. With all that good work, with this being a little less cooler and being able to put aviation assets on there and kind of keep that in check, the Beatty spike and that work that was up in the wilderness, we've been able to really, really reduce the number of folks we have up in there, reduce that exposure, reduce the people that could be affected up there. So we're leaving that with a fire use or a fire module, the suppression module, and those folks specialize in backcountry, very remote wilderness fire tactics. So leaving them in really good hands up there, and they'll be able to monitor that stuff and do what needs to be done, calling in for the helicopters or any kind of aviation folks if something was to get going up in here again. So really good folks up there to take care of that. And then one of the things today, just as we start talking about this, we had limited resources up on the hill, looking out for the weather, and this is something to just drive home to the folks in the community. The roads that we've been driving on out here, they've been hundreds of vehicle miles on those roads. While they may be short stretches, 8 to 10 miles, moving up to the tops of these mountains, they've been heavily impacted by traffic, and so that dust is coming up. And so today, using risk management and thanks to the good work that has occurred, we were able to reduce the number of people up there looking out for safety in the event that we had real wetting rain up there and getting people off the hill. And why that's important is, for other folks, as we talk about the weather, you're over here in some of the burned areas, those debris flows, and if we get water and heavy amounts of water flowing down those places that's been high severity burn, has the potential to move a lot of materials down to places you might be driving. So as we get these weather systems that come in for the next unknown period of time, the public, as you're out there, just be mindful of that and where you are in relation to that and the storms. And it doesn't take a storm right over top of you to make a difference. It could be up on the mountaintop and miles away from where you're at, and it can impact you down lower. So just be heads up for that as you move forward in the future. And that is also why we're taking all the time to do this repair work to help reduce and minimize the effects of that. So with that, I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching. I had a good time here as far as being able to share and provide the updates and information to you folks, and hopefully I was able to help educate and provide a little bit of information to everybody in the communities around the fire area. So with that, thank you very much, and you guys be safe the rest of the summer.
John, you're welcome around our campfire anytime. And moving forward, one of our senior operations section chiefs, Rocky Gilbert, will be continuing to give you all that good information, starting with tomorrow morning's operational briefing and following with Friday's public meeting. Tom Bird, our incident meteorologist, may not be happy with me when I share with you that one of the folks on our chat described him today as the Bob Ross of meteorology. And we thought that was pretty cool.
I don't quite have the afro for it, though. So am I good to go? All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Good to be back with you. Tom Bird, incident meteorologist, here with the team on the South Zone, covering the whole fire. Carl Swope up north already touched on the weather, saying, although we're in a moist period now, we've got dry weather to come, certainly between now and the end of fire season. He couldn't have been more right. Just now we had John talking about the fact that, when we have those showers and thunderstorms over the area, it impacts firefighter safety and also the public safety with those flash floods, those debris flows coming out of those drainages. So I thank you for getting me started there. Let's go to our first loop of satellite imagery. It's from this morning, actually, and it's real remarkable because it shows a really nice arc of clouds moving south and west out of the Texas Panhandle. We had really strong storms over that area, the Texas Panhandle, the overnight and morning hours, and we already anticipated an east push coming into the area to bring moisture out of the plains, but this actual boundary that came out of those thunderstorms really enhanced that. And about 9 o'clock this morning, you'll start seeing in San Miguel and Mora County where the crest of the Sangre de Cristos are, you can see those clouds stacking up in a hard line that arced right there up against the crest, and it started spilling over and into the Pecos Valley, and that's what brought us really healthy moisture today, and that is what has been, that's basically the fuel that we needed to start seeing some showers and thunderstorms across the region here in west. Yesterday we saw them just to our east, but today with that stronger push back west to our west, it allowed us to see showers and thunderstorms to our west, over the fire, and in the region. And what else it did for us, even though we didn't see a lot of rain over the fire, it brought up the relative humidities, which is that measure of moisture in the atmosphere that really helps to moisten the fuels also. So let's go to our next satellite loop. This one right here is almost current. I grabbed this about 30 minutes ago, and this is what's ongoing pretty much right now. You can see the dip in I-25 there in San Miguel County, and the fire, of course, is just north of there into Mora, Colfax, and Taos County there. And you can see just over the fire, and especially to the west and south, those big bubbling clouds, those are showers and thunderstorms that are developing still to our west and southwest. So although we haven't seen a lot of shower activity over the fire itself up until now, there's still that potential going through the rest of the evening hours till about probably 10 o'clock when we think most of this activity will diminish. So we still got a chance the rest of the day. So let's go on now next to my next graphic. And what this is going to show us, let's check the right-hand side of the graphic. And we've had a flash flood watch out for the fires, both this one and the Cooks Peak fire just to our northeast, all day long from noon and it's going to go until 9 p.m. this evening. So just a couple more hours that we'll see that. That's that green area with the fire perimeters overlaid right there in that red circle. So we're still under the gun. We still have that opportunity for some strong rain to come in from the west over the fire and produce some areas of flash flooding, debris flow. So although the likelihood is not real high, it still exists. And so we all need to keep our wits about us, heads up, keep monitoring local TV, radio, and phone alerts and all that kind of stuff. Now the graphic to the left, that's actual today's rain so far that I capture across the area. So like I said, most of it was to our west. Some of it was over on the Sierra Pilado fire. We had some on our fire. You can see that blob right there through the heart of the Hermit Peak Calf Canyon fire. And that was anywhere from about a couple hundredths, so very insignificant minimal rain, to maybe up to 1/4 of an inch. And John already talked about the fact that it was in that division Juliet in India where we saw some lightning, and that's where we got most of our rain across the area. So it was a really nice stroke for us to try to get most of those people out of that area just in case. So let's move on. So here are our weather maps, and although we're pretty much basically done with today, I wanted to leave it here so we could compare it to tomorrow. And what you're seeing here is basically they don't look a lot different. We have that front to our west now. It's kind of stalled. It'll be there again tomorrow. We don't see a lot of change. But what we do see is the fact that, well, actually, I kind of messed this up because I put the same map twice. But believe me when I say that tomorrow looks very similar to today. I'm not sure how I did that, but the deal is we are lowering the chances of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, but not by much. We're keeping that moisture in play, and we actually think that with less clouds in the morning, not getting that east push that we did this morning, and keeping that moisture lingering over the area, we'll probably have better dynamics, better instability, and we'll see more showers and thunderstorms across the region tomorrow, even though we have chances a little bit less for floods. So let's move on now next. So on the left, what you're looking at is a forecast of what the radar would look like right about now, right? And so we actually do have some showers and thunderstorms just to our west and moving towards that circle that I have there, which would be our fire. So like I said, we still have that chance. And so the graphic on the right shows the potential for storms. Now, again, this is a forecast for tomorrow, 24 hours away from today. And you see there's a wide swath of showers and thunderstorms out of southeast Colorado extending south and west through much of the state. So again, tomorrow we'll see showers and thunderstorms develop, move from southwest to northeast, and some of those certainly are expected to come across the fire. Again, just like today, there's a potential for lightning, gusty outflows, and debris flows, and flash flood, which all impact not only firefighter safety here on the fire, but also the community safety. So everybody needs to be heads up tomorrow again. Next, please. So real quick, what we're doing here is we're looking at today all the way a week out to next Wednesday. And we're looking at clouds on top on the right, dew point temperatures, which really are a good measure of how much moisture we have in our environment, and then relative humidity on the bottom, which really tells us how those fuels react to either dry air or moist air. And so we want all that to be high, right? So you can see today and tomorrow we have a lot of clouds forecast, and we saw that today. The dew points are high, meaning a lot of atmospheric moisture. You can see those bars on the bottom at the relative humidity really stand up pretty tall. So that's these days, today and yesterday, or tomorrow, are our moist days. But then you look going on Friday through the weekend into early next week. All of those trend sharply downward, which means a lot drier air moving back in. That's what Carl was mentioning earlier. So we get into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're primarily dry, and we're going to see a lot warmer temperatures. We get into Monday and Tuesday. That's our driest time. Unfortunately, we have a Pacific trough moving in, so we're going to see some pretty strong southwesterly winds. So we're expecting critical fire weather Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So that's a heads up for us. We're watching for that. And then finally, bottom left, that's a precipitation forecast. You see the highest bars on the left for today. A little bit lesser chances tomorrow, almost no chance, but still something there for Friday. And then dry the weekend, first half of next week. Then we see a signal at the end of next week, and we might see some moisture move back in from the east, give us more chances for showers and thunderstorms. So what that's telling us, remember back early in the history of this fire, we were seeing very long stretches of exceptionally dry weather. We're to that point in the season now, late spring moving into summer, where we interrupt those dry patterns with a little influx of moisture. So we don't see, although we could be just as dry as we were back then, we won't be as dry for as long, which is a good thing. So next, please. here's our matrix that we always look at. And I've already touched on most of this, so we'll just move right through this. And of course, this is being recorded, so you can go back and see this later. So let's go 2 more slides real fast. For all of us around here living in the vicinity of this fire, with the increased chance of flash flooding and debris flows, it's really important that you're able to get those warnings. And so I just wanted to put this up here and show you a bunch of good sources that you can get and see those warnings. The first is your local TV or radio source, right? Next is, if you have internet access, hopefully you do, the National Weather Service, weather.gov, and your local office is Albuquerque office, so /ABQ will get you to their webpage where they will show and have their warnings. Finally, if your smartphone, you can enable it to get wireless alerts. So make sure you do that, because it will send an alert to the closest cell tower and then send it to your phone. And then finally, the no weather radio system. And lastly, why are we talking so much about flood risk, debris flow after a fire? For years and years and years underneath all these trees out in the forest, they drop needles and leaves and twigs, and it creates a deep layer of litter and duff that acts as a sponge, and when it rains, they pick up a lot of that moisture and hold it. And then the soil below that also infiltrates a lot of that moisture. And so most of the rain that falls out in the forest doesn't run down the slope, it stays on the slope. But when you burn all that litter and duff off, now you just have bare ground, and many times it's burnt to the point that it is impenetrable to water. And so all that rainfall is now sliding off the slope, down drainage, and if you live below that, you're in risk, a high risk, a much higher risk than normal of seeing heavy rain become flash floods, deadly situation. So we just wanted to end with that and hope that everybody can stay safe as we start to see more and more rainfall through the season. Thank you.
So let's hope for the best, what Bob Ross would call happy little rain clouds that can moderate fire behavior, but definitely plan for the worst, folks. We all know how dangerous these flash floods can be. Keep your kids out of low areas. Don't drive through water crossings. Be safe, make good decisions. This storm will pass, the fire will continue, but monsoon seasons are coming as well. All right, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Jeff Tempus. He's our burn area emergency response liaison, who's joining us from Zoom, and then we'll go to our fire behavior analyst, Dan Pearson, who I just skipped unintentionally.
Thank you. Pleased to make the meeting. I just will give a short report on the activities of the bear teams that are out there. The bear team has, this fire has completed the southern end of the fire and made a recommendation for treatments that's currently being reviewed in the Washington office and will be approved soon. And the bear team is now working on the northern half of the fire here in the zones where it's safe to work, and that's most of it. A soil burn severity map is already mostly completed and will be finalized soon and available on at the INCIWeb website for the bear incident. And you can expect that probably to be there within a few days. And they'll be continuing to work on coming up with bear treatments for the burned area. The sort of treatments we're talking about begin with safety treatments, closures if necessary, warning signs. The first things are, protecting life and safety. The next thing is protecting infrastructure. The teams will be designing or identifying road treatments, water crossings that might fail due to floods and debris flows, and for treatment. And in addition, they'll be working on treatments to protect natural resources, threatened and endangered species, wildlife, plants, and they'll be looking at water and watershed response and soil erosion. and identifying treatments to protect the watershed out there. So we'll have more information is available on our INSEE website for the Bear team, and go to look there for the soil burn severity map if you're interested in that. Thank you. With that, end of my report.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I'd like to go to our fire behavior analyst, Dan Pearson. Sorry I skipped him. I have one job and I forgot.
This is what happens when I don't pay attention to the agenda. Good afternoon, everybody. Dan Pearson, Fire Behavior. So in a nutshell, the fire is behaving quite nicely tonight. However, there's always a but. Yesterday's, this is today, June 9th. Yesterday's, if you had been with us, every bar on the matrix was green, save one. It was the first time since I've been here that every bar was green except one. The only red one was the chances of lightning. So today is a great day. But as multiple people have talked about, and especially Tom, as we move forward through time and move into the weekend and into early next week, we are back to getting more and more of those red blocks. So the fire is not over, it is behaving currently, it is quiet, it is mild, but it is not out. And so I will, since we haven't talked for about 48 hours, I'll let you kind of know what happened over the last day or two. So the burnout that was along this created line south of Bear Creek, that was intended to protect the area from the fire that's naturally in Bear Creek from making a push upslope towards that area and then continuing further to the south. So it's what we call a catcher's mitt. That is working, it is in place. The fire has moved naturally down Bear Creek, down the South Fork of Bear Creek, to a little bit of a confluence, and it started moving in there about 36 hours ago. So we were well ahead of it, so everything's looking good there. Tonight, and probably tomorrow, this is going to be really quiet. It's burning in mixed conifer, really heavy fuels, a lot of dead and down, closed canopy, high elevation. So it's generally cooler. That's over 11,000 feet in elevation over there. It's going to be pretty quiet because fire is all about momentum, and this recent precipitation, high humidity, high cloud cover has really kind of interrupted that momentum of the fire. The other primary area is up here in the Trampas fire scar from 2002. The fire is just continuing to burn basically log to log through that fire scar, working down slope. This overnight last night and sometime this morning, a fire did finally make it out of the fire scar down to Mora Flats alongside the Rio Mora. We have a line already in place. That's what John was talking about, that check line. So this fire is it's really not moving either today or tomorrow. There's some interior smokes or pockets of dead and downer, like kind of conglomerations of it. That fire is still continuing to burn out, but it's not moving anywhere. Tomorrow, if we have clear skies, if we don't get the rain, we'll see a slight uptick in activity, but again, minimal movement. However, as we move forward in time, fire is about momentum. The fire is going to start to build momentum as we have poor relative humidity recovery overnight for several days, clear skies, higher temperatures, stronger winds. So that's going to allow the fire to start to rebuild momentum. And I think the area that it's primarily going to be moving is it's going to come out of the fire scar on the Trampas. It's right on the edge of it and has moved out a little bit in Rio Las Trampas. It's going to continue kind of flanking to the south here, as well as in Bear Creek. So that's why we have to stay ahead of it. It's currently parked in the aspen stand, which is almost like asbestos. Aspen really doesn't like to burn very well unless it has another fuel type with it. So this is basically a temporary check and will only continue if this fire pushes us over the next 5 to 7 days. So we still have about 2 to 3 weeks minimum of active fire season here in the Southwest and in New Mexico. So we're hoping for another shot of moisture in about another week to interrupt that momentum again, but we have plans in place to mitigate for that. That ends fire behavior for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Let's go right to Travis Martinez with the New Mexico State Department of Homeland Security Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, Bill. course, I'm Travis Martinez with the New Mexico EOC, and this evening I wanted to let everybody know of an event tomorrow that will be happening at the San Miguel County. It's an open house for the agricultural community affected by the wildfires, which will be held from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's tomorrow at the San Miguel County Chambers. That's at 500 West National Avenue here in Las Vegas. The goal of the open house is to promptly detect and identify threats to New Mexico agricultural and food systems, identify and provide resources for agriculture and food protection, and assist in the recovery of impacted systems to mitigate economic impacts to communities. There will be a lot of representatives there, so to answer the questions and address concerns about ag and natural resources impacted by the fires, which include ag disaster assistance programs, livestock and natural resource programs, soil health and watershed management, agricultural producer mental health needs, water quality pertaining to wells, reforestation, livestock inspections and movement, lost or estray livestock, and livestock grazing alternatives. Representatives from the following entities will be in attendance: the New Mexico Department of Agriculture, the New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension Service, New Mexico Livestock Board, United States Department of Agriculture, which is the Farming Service Agency, as well as the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and also from the USDA, the Rural Development. FEMA will also be present to answer any questions. I know there's still a lot of people out there that do have questions pertaining to FEMA, but you're going to have all these other representatives from the USDA, the ag entities to answer those questions pertaining to maybe some food that you lost during the wildfire, some scorched, the land was scorched on your property, fences got burned down. Those are the questions that the USDA is going to be able to assist you with tomorrow. And again, I just want to let you know that it's an open house set for tomorrow, June 9th. It'll be held from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and that's at the San Miguel County Chambers at 500 West National Avenue here in Las Vegas. Thank you.
This fire has been going for 63 days, and your San Miguel Sheriff, Chris Lopez, has been here with us the whole time. It's all yours, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Morse. Good evening, everybody. So I just wanted to touch on a few updates, and I know at the beginning of the meeting you kind of heard about some possible evacuation status changes, which is always some good news for us, as we're definitely working very hard between law enforcement and also the incident management team to get people back into their homes and out of an evacuation status. So I know we had some changes earlier in the week, and we're really looking at some changes here, hopefully tomorrow if everything continues to go well tonight. And so I'll kind of give you just a little update on that. We're looking at that the last polygon that we have evacuated right now is that Holy Ghost polygon. And so what we're looking at doing there is at some point tomorrow morning, hopefully, as I said, if everything goes well tonight, we'd be opening up most of that polygon with the exception of the Iron Gate community. So that's kind of the plan right now. And as you heard from the operational update, they've been doing a lot of really good work, and they've gotten a break with the weather. And so hopefully all of that continues to look good through the night, and we can get some changes up for tomorrow. That's the plan. So and then as things continue and hopefully operations continue to go well, we can continue to work on looking at that Iron Gate community, as well as I know that there's a handful there's quite a few homes in that area as well. So just know, and I touch on it all the time, but just know that we're constantly meeting and discussing evacuation statuses as we continue to go through this incident. And it's been a while now, Mr. Morse, but I just want to thank the team again for their hard work in helping us to continue and get through this. And also just a few other updates as you're hearing from some of the other speakers in the meeting tonight. Just really touching on some of the efforts that are being made, both in rehabbing the fire, and also in getting more resources available to those that have been affected by the fire, which is continually developing, and we're getting a lot more, like I've been telling you, a lot more boots on the ground, a lot more resources. We got the debris removal program going, as you've been hearing from Mr. Garcia over the last several briefings. I know he wasn't here tonight, but that's continuing, and those forms are available at the counties and also online. So if you look at our websites, you can find the information on there, or at the DHSEM website as well. Also with that, as we continue to prepare for flooding, mitigation and preparedness, and you kind of heard some of the updates and from our meteorologist, and just some of the things to really look out for. I just wanted to touch on a few things, and I've really been mentioning the After Wildfire NM.org website, which really gives a lot of really good information for you all, and I just want to bring that up again, because it gives a lot of good information about flooding, but it also gives a lot of good information about after the wildfire. And some of the points that I kind of wanted to touch on was, I know we haven't touched on it too much, just maybe a couple of times, but just looking at picking up some flood insurance, especially if you live in those areas where you are susceptible to flooding, in those flood zones or near them, or if you've seen flooding in the past. There's just some stuff that you really need to watch out for, and especially as we come into days like we did today and possibly tomorrow, where we have those chances, just really being aware and alert, and really being prepared for what that might look like, and just like as we were going into this fire incident, and with the Ready Set Go program, I want you to kind of think of it like that, and start preparing yourself. Like I said, especially if you're in those areas of concern, or even if you feel like you're safe and you're a little bit higher, you still need to be aware, because the potential for flooding that we probably haven't seen is there. And so really safeguarding your possessions, kind of just like we did for the fire. You start getting everything ready, all your valuables, all the things that are important to you that you wouldn't want to lose. Make sure that you have all of that together, and then the next thing is preparing your property. I know we've been talking about providing materials for you to do that. That's all in the works right now. We actually have we have a big effort going on right now between local government, the state. We have some volunteer organizations, Serve 6.8, Team Rubicon, that are Serve 6.8 is already on the ground. Team Rubicon will be here shortly. We also have a lot of local volunteers, and then the National Guard, who are helping us with our sandbag, trying to come up with enough sandbags to provide to the community. And we're going to have several locations where you'll be able to pick those up at our local fire departments, and also at the county yard. That's what we're looking at right now, and those will be available for you. So you can start preparing your areas for flooding or what might be coming, and just the next thing is developing some kind of a plan for you and your family, and having an idea of if it comes, getting to higher ground, if it's that flash flood warnings, and not trying to drive through some of that stuff as you heard before, and get to higher ground until it passes, and then from there we can work on what's next. But just be looking out. We're starting to put out a lot more information, and really working hard to try and get you more prepared for what could or might be coming, as it's Mother Nature, and it's really hard to determine what that's going to look like. And so as like, for example, today we had those warnings in place, and so you need to really be aware and alert and ready to act. So. And with that, thank you, Mr. Morse.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go back up to our partners in the North Zone and close out tonight's meeting with our agency administrator, Steve Hottenbach.
Good evening. My name is Steve Hottenbach. I'm the agency administrator for the Forest Service here on the North Zone. Some of you may recognize me from a month ago when I was on the South Zone fulfilling the same role. And I'm here today to answer some questions we've received about these contingency lines to the north. And they're very reasonable questions, and I'll paraphrase some of them. It's very reasonable to ask, if you're not familiar with what we're doing, the fire's down here. Why are you doing this work a mile or several miles away? What's the purpose of that? I know many members of the community have seen log trucks hauling logs out of here and wondering, what is the work that you're doing? Why are you doing this work? What does it look like up there? And I want to address that too. And then we have received many questions about, well, what's going to happen to all that wood that's coming off? How can we get some of that? So I want to start with reminding you of what you've already heard today. We are almost 30 days out from a normal season-ending monsoon event. Although fire behavior has been moderated recently, we may be looking at some hotter days, maybe some higher winds, some increased fire behavior. And as confident as I am in these primary containment lines, the great work the team is doing, I want to have a backup plan and a backup to my backup plan. I want you to go back to a month ago when we were enduring consecutive red flag days and seeing extreme fire behavior of long range spotting, the fire running several miles every day, the fire breaching our primary containment line, our alternate containment line, and sometimes our contingency line. Well, fire behavior moderated, right? So we were able to take advantage of that to put in some of these contingency lines up here. So as confident as I am in the work that's happening here, I do not trust this fire to behave. This sleeping giant could wake up sometime over the next 30 days. So folks have asked, what does it look like up there? We see these log trucks coming out. Let me explain a shaded fuel break to you and what it looks like up there. I spent the day up there inspecting the work. It looks beautiful to my eyes. All right. Shaded fuel break means you're leaving mature trees to shade out ground fuels so you do not have preheating from the sun. You're removing interlocking canopy. Those dense interlocking canopies promote spotting behavior. If you have a running canopy fire, you can get long range spotting. If we can promote fire behavior where the fire is on the ground, it gives a higher probability of success for these firefighters to catch it along those roads, along those containment lines. So what you would see if you went up there today for the work that was finished is really an open forest, not interlocking canopies, mature trees left, but removal of a lot of that hazardous fuel along the line. If the firefighters need to use these containment features, they want it to be a surface fire, not a running canopy fire. That promotes a high probability of success. So the trees being removed are hazardous fuel. They are threatening that line. You may wonder why the logs are being hauled out. You cannot leave that material on the ground. That would threaten the line. That will reduce the probability of success. If this fire gets up and runs and the firefighters need to hold on those containment features, we want those decks out of there so it's not threatening the line. So the question becomes, well, how do we get some of those logs? I want to recognize the impact that this fire has had on local communities. Traditionally, this is a time when you're accessing the forest to obtain fuel wood for the season. The forest is closed because of high fire danger. That has limited the access of the local community to fuel wood. We want to recognize that when this material is on the line, it's hazardous fuel. When it's off the line outside of the fire perimeter, this can be beneficial fuel wood for the community. So the forest is working on a plan to provide these decks to the community for community fuel wood. Right now, the priority is finishing these containment features. We want to get these contingency lines in place as soon as possible before this fire has a chance to make any sort of run. Please be patient with us. We are looking at decking locations both on the east and west side of this fuel we pulled off the line to provide to the communities for fuel wood. That may take a week or two for us to work out all the logistics. Right now, the emphasis is on completing those lines so that we can hold off those if necessary, but the fuel wood will be made available. So again, when you hear shaded fuel break, think of open forest, scatter mature trees shading out the fuel. Why are we working so far from the fire? because what we've seen up to now is that this fire could pick up and make a run. And we want to be ready. We want to protect the communities and homes out here and not have any more impact. And please have some patience with us for a few weeks while we work on plans to make this available to the community. That's it for me.
So folks, we sincerely hope that you're getting the information you need on this incident. And I think by this point through this thing, you know where to find it all. So please join us again Friday night, 6 p.m. for our next community meeting, and have a good evening.